Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive today. We are going to be exploring this book called Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. It's pretty popular,
Mm.
and we are going to see what we can learn from it about maybe reaching our own goals.
Yeah, it's an interesting book for sure. I think one of the really cool things about it is that it's not really about becoming like a workaholic or anything. It's more about, practical stuff that anyone can try to use to just make some progress on whatever they want to do, like
Yeah.
whether it's like finishing a big project or like learning something new or just feeling more confident in their everyday life.
Yeah, I like that. So, first up, the book talks about having clear goals.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that maybe seems easy at first, but I know that sometimes I kind of just go with the flow. I don't always have like a real plan in place.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like if you're going on a trip without a map. You might end up somewhere, but you could also get lost along the way? So I think successful people have this sense of like where they want to go and how they're going to get there.
Yeah, and they don't just say like, I want to be successful, which is kind of, vague, right? What's a better way to kind of set goals?
Well, one thing they do is they break those big goals down into smaller steps. So instead of I want to be successful, maybe it's like, okay, I want to finish this project by the end of the month.
That makes sense. So it's like if you're listening now, think about something you want to achieve.
Yeah.
What's that first step you can take? I think that's kind of how successful people think. Have you ever used this in your own life?
Oh, definitely. I remember when I was writing my first book, like the whole thing felt so overwhelming. Like, how am I ever going to write a whole book? But then I started breaking it down into these like daily writing goals. Like, okay, just write 2 pages today. And it was much more manageable.
That's a great example. It shows that like even those really big goals can be achieved if we break them down into those smaller,
Yeah.
manageable pieces.
Yeah.
What comes after setting goals?
Well, once you've got your goals, then I think staying organized is key.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'll admit it, like my desk can be a disaster sometimes with like papers and to-do lists like everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all been there. But I think successful people, they have these ways of handling that chaos,
Mm.
whether it's using calendars or notebooks or even just like having a simple routine they follow every morning just to kind of, stay on
The
track.
book actually talks about that, right? About
Mm.
how your morning routine can really set the tone for the whole day.
Right, exactly. Having that kind of like a little bit of order in the morning can help you feel, I think, more in control and just like ready to kind of, face whatever challenges come your way. For me, I like to start my day with a cup of tea and just do a quick meditation. It kind of helps me center myself before the day gets, too hectic.
That sounds really peaceful.
Yeah.
Might have to try that. So, okay, we've got our goals, we're organized, but what happens when, things get tough? Because everyone faces setbacks.
Mhm.
Have you ever felt discouraged when you're working towards a goal?
Oh, of course. I mean, I think everyone has, you hit those roadblocks and it's easy to feel like giving up. But one thing I've noticed about successful people is they have this amazing ability to just keep going, even when things are difficult. They're
Like
persistent.
like Thomas Edison, right?
Yeah.
He tried like thousands of ways to make a light bulb before he finally got it right. Imagine if he had given up after a few tries.
Oh, we might still be in the dark, literally.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a good reminder for all of us that failure is not the end of the story. It's often just a step on the path to success.
That's so true. It's all about learning from those mistakes and, coming back stronger. And I think that ties in nicely with another um, important habit the book talks about. It's all about managing your time. Well, successful people are really good at this, aren't they?
It's almost like they have more hours in the day than the rest of us, but really, I think it's about being mindful of how you use your time. Time is a precious resource, and they invest it wisely.
What are some simple things that, people can do to manage their time better?
Well, one technique the book mentions is time blocking. Have you ever tried that?
Mhm.
Basically, where you schedule like specific blocks of time for different tasks throughout your day. And it can really help you stay focused and avoid distractions.
I've tried that, but sometimes I get to the end of the day and I'm like, wait, where did all the time go?
Yeah, it takes practice for sure. But over time, I think it can really help you feel more in control of your schedule and, make sure you're making progress on the things that matter most. Do you have any tips for identifying those? Like, time wasters, we all struggle with those.
Oh, for me, it's definitely social media. Like I can get lost scrolling
Mm.
for hours. What about you?
I used to have a big problem with saying yes to too many things. So, learning to prioritize and politely decline requests that didn't really align with my goals, that was a huge help for me.
That's such a good point. It's not just about managing time. It's about managing our energy and focus as well, right?
Exactly. And that leads us to another kind of key habit I've noticed in successful people. They're always learning. They're so curious and always seeking new knowledge and skills.
Yeah, it's like they have this endless thirst for learning, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be formal education, right?
Not at all. It could be reading, taking online courses, or even just having conversations with interesting people, you know?
It's about staying curious and engaged with the world around us.
Exactly. What are you curious about? What would you like to learn more about? Successful people are always asking themselves those questions.
I love that. That's inspiring. It makes me think about, the power of having a positive attitude too. Successful people seem to have this, outlook even when facing challenges.
Yeah, they do. It's not that they don't have problems, but they kind of face them with this can-do spirit. They focus on solutions rather than dwelling on the
Right.
problems.
It's like choosing to see the glass half full instead of half empty.
Yes. Successful people are resilient. They bounce back from setbacks and see those obstacles as opportunities for growth.
And the book even suggests that, like, a positive attitude can attract positive people and opportunities into your life.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you believe in yourself and your ability to succeed, others are more likely to believe in you too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you really think, like, our mindset can have that much of an impact on our success?
I truly believe it does. It's not about being naive or ignoring problems, but it's about approaching challenges with this belief that we can overcome them. Think about a time when you felt really confident. Didn't things seem to go more smoothly?
Now that you mention it, yeah. When I believe in myself and my abilities, things just seem to fall into place more easily. Feel more motivated, more creative, and I'm more likely to take risks that lead to, positive outcomes.
Exactly. And I think all of these habits, they contribute to another really crucial aspect of success, taking care of ourselves. We often get so caught up in the hustle and bustle that we forget to prioritize our well-being.
It's true. We often think success is all about working hard, but it's also about taking care of ourselves,
Mm.
so we can keep going strong.
Exactly. You need to take care of your physical and mental health to be at your best. That means exercise, healthy eating, getting enough sleep.
And finding healthy ways to manage stress, right?
Definitely. Practices like mindfulness or meditation, or even just spending time in nature can make a huge difference.
It's about finding what works for you and making self-care a priority.
Okay.
If you don't feel good, it's hard to succeed at anything.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already, but there's still a few more habits to explore. So we're going to continue our deep dive into the 7 habits of highly successful people right after this.
Welcome back, everybody. It's great to be continuing this deep dive, into the world of success habits.
I'm ready for more. So before we took a break, we were talking about taking care of ourselves. It's easy to forget about stuff like exercise or eating healthy food when we're so busy.
Oh, for sure. It's like if we don't take care of ourselves, it's like trying to run a car without ever changing the oil, right? Eventually, it's going to break down.
I like that analogy. We got to make sure we're taking care of ourselves, fueling our bodies and minds if we want to reach those goals. Speaking of fuel, getting enough sleep is so important.
Couldn't agree more. A lot of people underestimate how much a good night's sleep can really help them. It affects so many things, from our memory and focus to our mood and how we make decisions.
Tell me about it. I've definitely pulled some all-nighters working on projects, but the next day, I always regret it. It's
Yep.
like my brain is running on fumes.
Sleep is like hitting the reset button, right? For our bodies and our minds, allows us to recharge and function at our best.
If you're serious about reaching your goals, make sure you're getting enough sleep. What's another habit we can explore?
Let's switch gears a bit and talk about this idea of thinking win-win. It's a powerful approach to interacting with people and solving problems.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does thinking win-win actually mean?
Well, it means going into situations with the mindset that everyone can benefit. It's not about one person coming out on top and the other losing out.
So it's more about collaborating, finding solutions that work for everybody involved.
That's it. It's about building those strong relationships, based on trust and mutual respect. When everyone feels like they're winning, it just creates a much more positive and productive atmosphere.
I can definitely see that applying in like a business setting. But does this apply to other parts of life as well?
Absolutely. Think about your relationships with friends and family. When you come to those disagreements or conflicts with a win-win mindset, you're way more likely to find a solution that everyone feels good about. It's about understanding each other's needs and finding a compromise.
So thinking win-win is all about finding common ground and working together towards a shared goal.
You got it. Now, this next one kind of goes hand in hand with that win-win thinking. It's this idea of seeking first to understand, then to be understood.
That sounds like a really important communication skill. What does that look like in practice?
It's about really listening to other people before you try to make your own point. You're putting your own thoughts and opinions aside for a minute and really focusing on what the other person is saying.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that sometimes.
Yeah.
Just waiting for my turn to speak instead of really listening.
hmm
How can we get better at, truly listening?
It definitely takes practice. Try to pay attention not just to their words, but their body language, their tone of voice. Ask clarifying questions to make sure you're really getting their perspective. And when you really listen to someone, it builds trust. It shows that you value their thoughts and feelings.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
It's about connecting with that person on a deeper level instead of just trying to win the argument.
exactly. And when people feel heard and understood, they're much more open to hearing your ideas as well. This brings us to the idea of synergy.
Synergy. Interesting word.
Yeah.
What does that mean in the context of success?
Synergy is about the power of teamwork, you know? It's that when people work together effectively, the result is way bigger than what they could do on their own.
So it's not just about adding more people to a project. It's about creating this environment where everyone can contribute their talents and perspectives.
Right on. When you have a team with diverse skills and experiences working towards a common goal, magic happens. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Love that idea. It's about recognizing that everyone has something to offer.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our last habit, which is all about continuous improvement. Sharpening the saw.
Sharpening the saw. That's an interesting one. What's that all about?
Imagine a lumberjack trying to cut down a tree with a dull saw, right? It's going to be so much harder than if they had a sharp saw. It's the same with our own lives.
So we need to keep ourselves sharp to be successful.
Exactly. Sharpening the saw is taking time to renew yourself, recharge in every area of your life. Physical, mental, emotional, even spiritual.
So it's not just about the hustle. It's about taking care of all parts of ourselves so we can keep going and keep growing.
Right. It could be exercising, meditating, spending time with loved ones, learning new things, anything that brings you joy. Make sure you're taking care of all those aspects of yourself so you can be the best version of you.
Like investing in ourselves.
Well said. And with that, we've covered all 7 habits from 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
Wow, we covered a lot. So much good stuff in there.
Yeah.
What stood out to you the most from all these habits?
Honestly, it's the focus on continuous learning and growth. It reminds us that we're never done learning and improving. There's always something new to discover and new ways to challenge ourselves.
I totally agree. It's all about embracing that growth mindset and being open to new experiences and opportunities.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into 7 habits of highly successful people, I want to leave you with this. It's incredible how these seemingly simple habits can have such a huge impact on our lives.
Totally. They can really make a big difference. It's not about being perfect or doing it all at once, but, just making these small changes as we go.
Small steps, big results, right? Like, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. And remember, we don't have to do this alone.
Yeah, that's important. Having people around you who are supportive, who believe in you and your goals, that makes a huge difference.
It really does. Finding those mentors, reading books, even joining a community of like-minded folks, all of that can provide guidance and encouragement along the way.
So true. So as we wrap up our deep dive into 7 habits of highly successful people, I want to ask you, what's one habit from today that you think you'll try in your own life?
Good question. It could be anything, really, right? From setting aside time each morning to plan your day to making that effort to truly listen to others when they're talking.
Doesn't have to be a big thing, just something that speaks to you. And then you can commit to making it part of your routine.
I'm confident that if you embrace these habits, you'll see amazing things happen.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the 7 habits of highly successful people.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
And remember, success isn't about reaching some finish line. It's about the journey, right? Keep learning, keep growing, and never give up on being the best version of yourself. You got this.